Hi kids! Today I'm going to be reading a story, Miss Fannie's Hat, written by Jan Karen, illustrated by Tony Goff. Miss Fannie has lots of hats, and each one is her favorite. When she wears her felt with the big feather, she looks in the mirror and says, "I just love this hat." And her friends at church say, "Miss Fannie, we just love that hat." When she wears her green velour with the fancy pin, she says, "I sure do love this hat." And her Sunday school teacher says, "Miss Fannie, I sure do love that hat." But when she wears her famous pink straw with silk roses, she always says, "I really love this hat." And everyone else really loves it too. Miss Fannie is 99 years old and very small. In fact, she's grown to be about the same size she was as a little girl. Miss Fannie and her daughter, Miss Wanda, live together. Miss Wanda makes breakfast every morning. "Don't make me much breakfast," says Miss Fannie, sitting on the sofa in her robe. Miss Wanda tries to mind because Miss Fannie is her mama. But she forgets and brings her a piece of sausage, buttered toast with jelly, a scrambled egg, a cup of herb tea. "Oh my, that's way too much," Miss Fannie always says, but then she goes and eats it all up. Every morning after breakfast, Miss Fannie reads her Bible. She has worn out 3 Bibles, reading them over and over. Her favorite verse is, "With God, all things are possible." Every Saturday, Miss Wanda washes Miss Fannie's hair. Miss Fannie takes off her robe and stands around in her slip, looking very tiny. Then she gets on a stool and sticks her head in the sink. Miss Wanda runs warm water and puts the shampoo on Mama's head and scrubs until it lathers up. Then she scrubs some more. "That feels good," said Miss Fannie. After she washes her mama's hair, Miss Wanda rolls it up tight with little curls all over her head. The curlers are really hard to sleep in, but Miss Fannie doesn't care one bit. She knows that when she goes to church the next morning, she'll look beautiful. On Sunday morning, Miss Fannie puts on a pretty dress, high-heeled shoes. She puts on earrings and a necklace and lipstick and blushers and powder. Next, Miss Wanda combs out her mama's hair, which is all nice and soft and gray, like the feather of a dove. Then finally, after that fussing with her hair, she goes and hides it under a hat. Miss Fannie has 3 black hats, 2 red hats, 1 green hat, 2 white hats, 2 navy hats, 3 beige hats, 1 brown hat, and the famous pink straw with roses. Because she never wears the same one twice in a row, some people think she has a whole closet full of hats, which of course she does. On Sunday, Miss Fannie's handsome preacher came up to her and said, "Miss Fannie, would you kindly give us one of your beautiful hats? It will go into the auction to fix up the church in time for Easter." That same day, Miss Wanda helps her mama get out her hats and put them on the bed and the dressing table. Then Miss Fannie closes her bedroom door. "Lord," she said out loud, "I'd appreciate it if you'd help me make the best choice." She always talked to the Lord as if he was right here. Miss Fannie walked around the room and looked at each of her hats. The green velour with the fancy pin was very, very old and still very beautiful. During the terrible flood of 1916, she crossed the swollen river on a ferry to visit her mother and father. As she stood at the rail holding the beautiful hat, a house floated by, almost close enough to touch. And over there is her wide-brimmed felt with gleaming black feather. Ha! That feather had come from the tail of a hawk that was trying to kill her hens and biddies. She grabbed that hawk around the neck, and before it could say doodly squat, that hawk would never bother her chickens again. Miss Fannie picked up her hat of soft brown velvet and stroked it. It had always reminded her of flour. her grandmother's cow. When Miss Fannie was just 7 years old, she had started milking the brown, velvety, soft flour. Each and every morning, she carried the milk to the spring in a bucket and set the icy water to keep it cold. Later, her mommy would pour the milk into a churn, and Miss Fannie would churn it into butter, just like you buy in the store, except better. She realized that each one of her hats was like a friend, and each one brought back special memories. Finally, Miss Fannie came to her most favorite hat of all, the pink straw with silk roses. She had worn it every Easter Sunday for 35 years, and it always made her feel brand new, like Easter itself. But she wasn't the only one who thought it was very special. Everyone at church looked for her pink hat on Easter Sunday, just as they looked for the tulips and daffodils to bloom in the spring. Miss Fannie took the pink straw out of its round box and put it on, even though she was wearing her oldest house dress with the worn, torn pockets. She looked in the mirror and sighed. In her heart, she didn't want to give her hat away. Not at all. She took a deep breath and repeated her favorite Bible verse. As she placed the hat in the round box, she said, "You know, this hat really could raise a lot of money." As she put the lid on the box, she said, "Maybe it could help fix the old pipe organ." As she tied the string around the lid, she said, "Why, it could probably mend the crack in the church bell or put on a whole new roof." Suddenly, she discovered she was very, very excited. At the church auction, the handsome young preacher held up the pink hat with roses and looked around. "What am I bidding for Miss Fannie's famous hat?" The bidding took off lickety-split. At last, here was something more exciting to bid on than a set of kitchen canisters or an umbrella stand. Bang went the gavel, "Sold to the lady in the front row." The lady in the front row gave the preacher a check and seemed very, very pleased with herself. "That's a lot of money," exclaimed Miss Wanda, who was impressed. Miss Fannie clapped her hands. It was enough to really get things fixed up around here. She knew that she would not miss her favorite hat one bit, but she did wonder which hat she would wear on Easter morning. On Easter Sunday, Miss Fannie got up very early. She sat on the side of her bed and took her curlers out of her hair. Although she thought and thought, she didn't have the slightest idea which hat she would wear. Her red felt with a big feather was too hot. Her green velour with a fancy pin was too wintry. And there was no use to even think about the pink straw, which of course would have been just right. When it was time to leave the church, Miss Fannie looked beautiful. She was wearing her best dress, which was the color of the pale green apple. She was also wearing her best jewelry, her best gloves, and a white corsage. "It's time to go," said Miss Fannie, picking up her cane and taking Miss Wanda's arm. Miss Wanda could not believe her eyes. Her mama was going out the door without wearing any hat at all. When they arrived at church, Miss Fannie couldn't believe her eyes. On either side of the freshly painted church, someone had planted beds of pink roses. Pink roses were planted along the walkway, under the stained glass window, and in front of the old fence by the street. "Oh, Mama," said Miss Wanda, "it looks like your pink hat." The handsome young preacher greeted them on the steps and gave each one a big hug. "We hope you're pleased, Miss Fannie. We're able to patch the bell and fix the organ, and your beautiful hat made it possible to buy all these roses." As Miss Fannie laughed with delight, they didn't see the old woman at all. What they saw was a young girl with hair as soft as the feathers of a dove. Now, when people pass the little white church, they think they're seeing a garden of dazzling pink roses. But what they really see is Miss Fannie's hat, and it will always, always be her favorite.
Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day. Bye.
Bye.